A warm welcome, bienvenue, herzlich willkommen to our QIAYDA series on female and inclusive leadership. My name is Luise Fischer. I am a researcher and academic teacher at Leipzig University in Germany, and it is my great pleasure to have the introductory conversation with Hiba today. And Hiba, before we start, I would like to invite you to say a few words about yourself.
Thank you, Luisa. Dankeschön. And I'm so happy that we're sharing this together. I'm Hiba Rajha. I have a PhD in process engineering, and I'm a process engineer. I've been doing research for 10 years now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Hiba, it is not just out of the blue that we are meeting here. There is a very, very big reason. And I would like to use the next 20 to 30 minutes to share with our audience why you are here, why we are doing this whole podcast series, and what the background story besides the series actually is. So I know and I understand that there are personal reasons, personal experiences that led you step by step to doing this series. What was the first initial point that made you want to learn more about the role of women in leadership?
So basically, Louise, it struck me when I was sitting in my MBA classroom. And suddenly I had these flashbacks in my head, my engineering school, my life and career as a scientist, and my consultancies with different industries. And I noticed that every time it was the same pattern. I was always outnumbered. Sometimes I was the only woman. And so I started seeing it actually from my MBA classmates, which were mostly men, then looking into high leadership position and having the same pattern. And so I said to myself, why? Why do we have few female leaders, engineers, scientists?
Thank you. And I understand that you did this MBA even after a long academic career in engineering, in biochemistry. So this did not just, it was not your first experience as a student. There is a background to it as well. Would you like to share a little bit about the connection between your research career and your MBA as well?
Exactly. So I've been doing, as I said, research, but I was always passionate about applied research, about how can the research we do be of benefit to the society, to the people? How can it have impact? And one of the impacts is actually the value creation. So the MBA came out of my desire to know how can scientific research, how can science be today in service of the economy and the flourishment of countries and civilizations.
Yeah, and in looking for this value, which is beautiful, you are now particularly interested in the role of leadership and the value of women in leadership, right? Because you said you chose the word minority, you felt like a minority. In what sense did you feel like a minority coming back to the MBA program now?
Exactly. So as a woman and as an Arab, I always ticked the same box saying you're a minority. But the MBA was an opportunity to understand why there are few female in leadership positions. So with the help of QIAYDA Business School, we designed a questionnaire, and I interviewed 40 female leaders from around the globe to understand the challenges they faced, the strategies that they used to overcome these challenges, and be able to understand more of the why and what is the role of education in all this, because the reflection of the numbers in MBA is also reflecting in the business market, actually. So after conducting this research, we did some recommendations for business schools as well as companies on how to be more inclusive. And we started with the idea of female leadership, but it became broader towards inclusive leadership that is of a help for everyone and not just women, because when you're inclusive, everyone will benefit.
This is amazing. Beautiful words, Hiba. And you just said 40 interviews, is that correct?
Yes.
You did 40 interviews and you did it for your MBA thesis, I understand?
Exactly,
Yeah.
Louisa. So even through these challenges, I felt that having been in a career of 10 years, having built my network and my connections, and being part of an amazing Arab German Young Academy of Sciences, I already had like 3 stakeholders who believed in me and in the idea to make it happen. I had you, Luise Fischer, and our colleague Sasha Hein from Berlin as well. So I had the means. This time I had a voice and I had the means to do something about these interviews and do this public outreach as well.
Yeah, we come to that in a second, just to give the audience a little bit of context. So the Arab German Young Academy, AGYA, which we are both, actually, this is how we connect. We are both, I have been a member, I'm an alumna, but you are a member still of, is a young academy of sciences and humanities that focuses on interdisciplinary research ideally with an output for society, or value as you called it, between scholars in Germany and the Arab world, the entire Arab world.
Yes.
So from the MBA and the 40 interviews you conducted, how did the platform of AGYA, what happened afterwards? What project can you maybe, I know I'm aware, I'm part of that project, but I would like you to tell the story. What made you want to involve AGYA in all of this? What happened?
Exactly. So I'm a scientist, as you know, and I had the opportunity to work with people from different fields in social sciences, in psychology. So we make an interdisciplinary team that is capable of enriching the dialogue and as well enriching the interpretation of the results and be innovative in the way we conduct them and in the way we draft recommendations. So having a business school by my side, having very interesting interdisciplinary scholars working with me, I was capable of conducting the interviews, drafting recommendations in education, but as well for the public outreach and creating the series of podcasts and masterclass. But that was possible because I had a meeting that changed basically my life, which was meeting Aziza Abbasi, who created a platform, an audiovisual platform called Wumnia, and it comes from the combination of woman and umnia, and umnia means a dream or a desire in Arabic. So it's about women leaders who would share their experiences, and it's a platform that helps people and connect them together and really actually starts a conversation about inclusivity.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Hiba. Now, I'm still wondering, why is the podcast so important? And before we can answer this question, or this whole podcast series, why is this whole series with Wumnia, leading from your MBA with the help of AGYA to this entire project, which we are very grateful of being here today. What is it? You told me in a conversation we had before that doing the interviews and the MBA was like a wake-up call. What did these women tell you? What, shook you up? What was it that, touched you the most, maybe, or some of the stories that touched you the most?
So I was wondering, Louisa, that I did 14 years of university education in my life, and I was never exposed to the inclusivity theme or gender theme, a little bit in the MBA program, of course, but not before. And I started wondering how many people are there in the world that have never heard of these topics, and they are actually maybe leading teams without having any idea or any background in this. And me, myself, I was someone who was leading teams without having any knowledge in leadership and inclusive leadership. The first time I heard this was when I got the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Prize. And they started in my head the dialogue of women scientists and the scarcity thereof in the numbers as well. So it was a wake-up call to start doing something about it with the help of the different stakeholders that support this idea. And so the idea of the podcast was created and the master classes to be able as well to translate and transfer the knowledge from academia, from research, sometimes we do research, but we're incapable of transmitting it to the big public. So the idea was, with your help and collaboration, to be able to translate this research into easy terms and easy way and transfer it to the public.
So Hiba, I know you. This is a beautiful project, and it is about sharing knowledge, changing people's minds, and we will get to maybe a little bit of a teaser of what is going to come in the podcast series. But I would like to hear who is there anybody you have particularly in mind? By this generously funded project by AGIA, the Arab German Young Academy, which is technically speaking funded by the German Federal Ministry for Education and Research. Whom are we addressing with this podcast? Is there anybody in particular, or are you actually sending this out to the entire world?
Exactly. So we are interviewing leaders, and what we think leadership presents. It doesn't always represent people, the highest ranked people possible in the world. Sometimes it is, sometimes they're in the C-suite, but sometimes they are just people who are very inspiring with stories to tell and impact to do, motivational impact to do, to make this world a better place and to inspire people to be a best version of themselves. This is the definition of leader that we seeked, and these are the people that we recruited for the podcast. It will be hopefully featured in many platforms such as Womnia, AGIA, and also the YEZEC Business School, hopefully. And we're trying to get it accredited somehow so that MBA students would have access to it. And MBA programs all over the world are invited to share this content that will be free. All the business schools in the world are welcome to be part of this dialogue and to support the dissemination of the scientific results that these podcasts were based on. We shouldn't forget that the creation of this was a very accurate and scientific process with very clear conclusions that led to the theme selection and topics of this series.
Wow, what an ambitious and meaningful project, Hiba. Now, what can the audience expect? I've heard there's a little bit of, what? You talked about, women being underrepresented in senior leadership positions. You mentioned the C-suits, so the CEOs, the CFOs, etc., etc. So it is about, the numbers, increasing the numbers, of course, but it's also, and most importantly, about the how, isn't it? About understanding the challenges and finding ways to tackle these challenges, and the interesting part, to do it in an inclusive way. So it's not about men against women, women against men. No, it's about growing together. And I was wondering, are you happy to share a few of the challenges and maybe also a few of the means to lead towards inclusivity, which the audience will be able to listen to in the series to come?
Thank you so much, Luise, actually, for this particular question, because one of the main outcomes of our research is that leadership is not very gendered, in the sense that we need more inclusivity than we might need to target female leadership, because when we transform mindsets, as we said, towards inclusivity, we're talking about all minorities. We're talking about being a better leader in general, about motivating teams, being positive and having empathy, so it's not related to female leadership anymore, as you said, because many of the challenges that women described were not related to their male-female interaction. Some of them were also related to female-female interaction. But we'll see that together in the next episode, where we present the results of the study that we conducted.
Thank you, Hiba. Thank you for this very important insight, and thank you also for insisting so much, because she has been insisting, I can say that with certainty and experience, on insisting to doing a podcast series as an output form, as a dissemination form, instead of just publishing research papers, which we are as well, we're working on, but to reach different audiences, to start a more public dialogue with the role of, and the important role of a CISA as well, to, spread the knowledge and have people engaged and see where all of this leads us. This is such important work, and I thank you so much for your important ideas and for having the resilience and the power and the energy to push to come them real.
Thank you so much, Luise, for having me, for giving me the opportunity to explain this project. I always believe that science and social science are here to change the world. And so by changing the world, we need to communicate everything that we find as scholars.
Thank you.